the finale. You're on in 1 minute.
1 minute?
Where's the cage? The rabbit to the rescue. Pleased to help you.
ToonTown, ToonTown, don't you make it ToonTown, ToonTown. ToonTown, ToonTown, don't you make it ToonTown, ToonTown. ToonTown, ToonTown, don't you make it ToonTown, ToonTown.
Hello, and welcome to DownTown, ToonTown, the biggest podcast dedicated to Roger Rabbit, ToonTown, and Disney and animation in general. I'm your host, Justin, and this is episode number 16. You may have noticed something different if you're not listening to the audio version of this show. I'm trying to video cast. As very in character for myself, I'm usually always 20 years behind in terms of what's popular and technology and all that. And I've mostly focused on doing an audio show, but this episode I'm going to try to do a video cast because I want to try to see how it turns out, spread the show, get more likes and views. And also, I have a really, really big guest, maybe the biggest guest we've had for my show, the theme of the show. But before we get to that, I want to start with the news.
Jeepers, another stupid newsreel. I hate the news.
Oogie Boogie tickets are about to go on sale. June 24th is when they'll be available for Inspire key holders. June 25th is when they're available for Believe, Enchant, and Imagine key holders. And for the general public, they're available on June 26th. Tickets always sell out. So if you want to go to Disneyland, California for the Oogie Boogie Bash and see Judge Doom in person, yes, it's been confirmed. He's coming back this year for a third year in a row. Buy your tickets as soon as possible. Again, the show will sell out. People always complain about missing tickets, so you don't want to miss out the Oogie Boogie Bash, which will be happening in September and October of this year. The Academy Museum in downtown LA had a screening of Roger Rabbit on June 11th. This was chosen by the Visual Effects Guild, and they had a very special guest, Rocky Capella. He was the stand-in for Bob Hoskins on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He gave a speech, and also he showed some pictures, some I think you can find on the Roger Rabbit DVDs and, Blu-ray and other media that were released in the past. But there were some pictures that I had never seen before. So it was a really fun event. I did get to walk by Tony Anselmo, who is the current voice of Donald Duck, and of course voiced Donald Duck alongside Mel Blanc's Daffy Duck in the infamous Ink and Paint Club scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So it was cool to see that I was watching this classic, one of my favorites, alongside two people who'd actually worked on the movie. But anyway, I actually did a live stream of this on my Instagram page. It was something I've never done before, a live stream. You can actually, if you're interested in seeing this, you can go to the Instagram page, Downtown ToonTown, where I uploaded the short, so the little live stream. So if you want to see that event, which it lasts for about 20 minutes or so, it is on my Instagram page. I'll maybe upload it on YouTube, but right now it's on Instagram where you can see this event if you happen to miss out on it. Happy 90th birthday to Disney legend Floyd Norman, who I interviewed on episode 4 of Downtown ToonTown. That was a great interview, and I hope Floyd many more years to come. And that should wrap things up with today's news. Okay, this is the big one. This is the moment. This is the interview I've been waiting 4 years to have. I have Roger Rabbit himself, the actor, comedian, author, poet, artist, a lot of other labels, I'm sure. The man, the myth, Charles Fleischer. Charles, how are you doing today?
Thank you, Justin. How old are you?
I am 30, almost 34.
Well, I've been waiting 34 years for this interview, bro. The moment you were born, I got a signal on my genetic hotline saying, Justin has arrived. Prepare for the interview. And I said, well, they don't even have Zoom at this point. So I said, well, we will resume and not be presumptuous to presume the flunks of the munctuous. So, hey, Justin, well, what a nice hat.
Thank you very much, because this is from another Robert Zemeckis film that you were in, Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah, I recognize the BTF.
Yes, where you regretted you didn't put more money on the Cubbies.
And I wish I could go back to the beginning of the season. Put some money on the Cubbies.
I did indeed, and I also returned Biff's car to him without manure.
$300 for a couple of dents? No, hey, that's bullshit, Terry.
No, Biff, it was horseshit. The whole car was full of...
The manure. I remember that.
Yeah, I was Terry in the future, and in the past, it was the mechanic that returned the car to Biff after it had manure dumped on it.
Oh, okay, cool. So you had an even bigger role than I thought.
There you go, man. We have to wait another 34 years to finish this.
But yeah, so there's so much I would love to talk and ask you about, but I guess where I want to start is, so you've had this really, I think, a really impressive career. You know, I mentioned that you've acted, you've done stand up, but like before you did Roger Rabbit, where were you in your career, and like what do you see yourself as, like, first and foremost?
First and foremost, I see myself as a grandfather and feeder of squirrels.
Well, you weren't really a grandfather in 1988, I would take it.
Well, you can take it, but you won't get it back. No, but I am now. But first and foremost, at what point in time are you speaking?
I meant like before you got cast as Roger Rabbit,
Oh, I've always seen myself as an actor and an artist and a comedian and
Yeah,
scientist and a
because
creator.
in your past, like I saw, like, you know, you started off on like Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, like you had a bit part in Nightmare on Elm Street, and I mean, again, you, besides the acting, you were doing stand up. So were you like, was the like what was like the main aspiration?
To finally sit down and do a Zoom with you, bro.
Oh, I'm very flattered,
Don't
but
be flattered, just be grateful.
well, I'm very grateful for this interview. So let me ask you this: like, how did you get cast in Roger Rabbit? Like, what was the audition process?
Well, Bob Zemeckis had seen me do my stand-up, and I had read for Romance of the Stone, but I wasn't really right for that, even though my accent was good. And they brought me in to read lines off camera while they were going through the process of casting Eddie Valiant. And after several of those, he asked me if I wanted to go to England and do the job. And I said, oh, okay, I'll do that.
Okay, yeah, it seemed like a good job to me. Did you have any like past interest in animation?
I've always loved animation. I've loved anything that tells a story.
Yeah, I remember like me waiting in line to like go to a convention you were at, and you know, I was like small talking with like somebody who was like waiting in line. And you know, since you were at the convention, one guy like always pondered this question, and I was like, I don't know.
I'm
Maybe
not related to the Fleischer family. That's your question.
so I guess you get that question a lot.
No, but it's kind of a natural assumption. Oh, Fleischer and Max Fleischer Studios, perhaps there's a relationship. Why did Steven Spielberg have a relationship with the great animator Frankie Spielberg? No, because Frankie Spielberg is a hypothetical one. Yep, that's the deal. No relationship other than just, Hebrew genetics.
Well, that's great that you put that to rest. So,
But there was in the Fleischer family of Max and Dave, there was a brother whose name was Charles Fleischer. And he was an inventor, and he invented something they call the claw, which is a kind of an amusement park vending game where you manipulate this device to come down and pick up stuff.
yes, the claw.
The claw, yeah, he invented that. And I also have patents, well, inventions that I have created.
So
So,
you're an inventor as well as the actor.
yeah, I have a multicolored crayon, I have a toy egg, and my golden ratio device. I have a patent on that.
Wow, that's really fascinating. So I mean, even though you're not related to Max Fleischer, I'm sure having that last name didn't hurt. Maybe someone assumed that you were.
I don't think it played any any iota of significance.
Yeah,
Oh,
probably.
let's get him. He can do the voice of Sammy the Bloop.
So you mentioned about, you that they offered you the part you like to go to London for the job. And of course, it's gotten a lot of publicity. You didn't just do the voice, you dressed up as the rabbit. So was that, your desire to be method? Did they ask you for it? Did you insist on
I
it?
asked them to do it because unlike any other voice situation, my voice was recorded live on the set every day. So if I'm gonna be live on the set every day, I don't want to just wear my civilian clothes. Then it's just like all the English crew just think, oh, he's wearing the same corduroy pants he wore yesterday. I just thought it would be a nice addition, and I asked Bob Z, and he said, talk to Joanna Johnston, and they made me a Roger Rabbit suit, and it helped Bob Hoskins, and it's just a good move.
You mentioned Bob Hoskins, even though it's called Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he is quote unquote the star, and his chemistry with Roger is really the heart of the movie. It's a buddy movie, so I have to ask, how is that working relationship with Bob Hoskins?
Fantastic, he's a great actor. Came to my house, he's a nice man. Yeah, I love Bob. God rest his soul.
Yeah, he was a phenomenal actor. Pity, I never got to meet him, but his performance in Roger Rabbit was, I mean, pretty exceptional. I mean, because he's acting with a rabbit who's not there.
Correct.
Well, I mean, I guess you were there, so I mean that helped him out.
Yeah, definitely. I was there, and whatever Bob did, I would watch it and react to that. I call it trans projectional acting. So if he were to pull at my ears, I would react to that. So there was a real-time relationship between his actions and my reactions.
So how about some of like the rest of the cast, like like Joanna Cassidy and Christopher Lloyd? Like, did you have that? Obviously Eddie was like the star, but like, were you there like for pretty much the entire shoot, like whenever your character was on screen?
Oh, of course. I was there, for the duration of the production.
Not a lot of people, I think, even know is that you didn't only play Roger, you also played three other characters. You played two of the Weasels, one
Psycho and Greasy.
Psycho and Greasy, and of course you played Benny the Cab too, so who
Correct.
can't imagine Roger Rabbit without Benny the Cab. So how did you like did you audition? How did you get to play multiple characters? Did you
Well, that
like
was post-production. Bob asked me if I'd want to do any other voices, and I said, sure. And then he said, what about this? And I gave him what that would sound like. He said, okay, let's do it.
So during production, you weren't sure if you were gonna get like more than one part?
Well, I had no idea until post-production that I would be. For the filming, Lou Rawls did the voice of Benny the Cab.
Did that not work out or?
Well, obviously not if I ended up doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's great. And like we mentioned the Back to the Future part, that was kind of the same voice as Benny the Cab, was it not?
It's certainly similar, kind of New York. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but they come from a similar vocal arena.
Yeah, so Roger Rabbit, a lot of people I feel sort of like forgotten like what a huge success it actually was. When you look back, like, how much money that grossed, like it won Oscars, like there was one point where this guy was like on the same pedestal as Mickey Mouse and all the other characters. So, and I'm sure it gave you a lot more work to reprise the character. So, like, what stands out from your mind the most, like looking back on like Roger Rabbit, the success, and all of that legacy following afterwards?
Before I get to that, I just want to readdress the Benny and the Back to the Future character.
Go right
Benny
ahead.
Cab was more come on, Roger! It was more accentuated as opposed to the other guy, which was put some money on the cubbies. One was a tune, so
Right.
that definitely differentiates the voices, although they're similar, as you pointed out.
Yeah,
And your
Benny
other
was
question was about what aspect of Roger was memorable?
well, just like the success, like, because what is when you look back on it, is it all a blur, or were there like certain moments like, wow, this is really something big, something special?
No, there are no blurs except for the English group that was also the Gorillas. Um, no, I remember everything quite clearly. It was an extraordinary time. It's a classic film. It's still celebrated this weekend. I'll be at the Pasadena Comic-Con, and that's mostly uh, because of Roger Rabbit. I mean, there
Oh,
are
yeah.
other parts that I played.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. You will be at Pasadena Comic Con. We were gonna plug it till the at the very end, but
You did. Who knows? You never know, man. This could be the very end.
but you didn't just even replay Roger Rabbit in this movie. Like, he got to be in like a special. Disneyland is about to celebrate its 70th anniversary. I live close to the area, so I have to ask you about, I guess, like the ride and all of that. But like, do you have any memories, of ToonTown when it opened?
Sure. Remember going there with my family.
So, do you know the voice actor Jess Harnell?
I do not.
Yeah, he was the voice of Wacko Warner on the Animaniacs. He does a bunch of voices, but he made a YouTube of himself like going through all like walking around Disneyland and pointing out all the things he did at the park.
What does this guy have to do with Roger Rabbit, Space Mountain, and Finding Nemo?
Stay tuned to find out.
So, I've been with Jess again, and this is Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin, and he hasn't been on Sprite in 15 years, and he provided the voice of what character?
Oh, Roger Rabbit, which was terrific. But the thing is, Roger was originated by a guy named Charlie Fleischer, a very talented voice actor. My introduction to doing voiceover was Charlie wasn't available to do stuff. So they said, can you, like Albert Brooks, same thing. They said, can you do it? And I watched the movie and I went, how jeepers, sure I can, it's fantastic. And the next thing you know, here we are, and home sweet home again.
Can you do the
Yeah, but I did it a different way. Charlie did it in his cheek.
Yeah.
I did it by like rotating my head quickly and going, it's like that, and just kind of getting the sound that way.
One of the things he pointed out was on the Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin, he said that, he got to voice Roger Rabbit for the ride. You provided the voice for Benny the Cab, and I think the two weasels on the ride. But
I did Roger as well.
Okay, so
I think he may have
just
did
lying
Roger in Tokyo.
Oh,
Tokyo
interesting.
Disneyland, but I definitely was Roger in American Disneylands.
Okay, so maybe he did do it at Tokyo, because I mean, I'm sure, you are a busy guy, and they can't, sometimes, scheduling conflicts interfere, I'm sure.
I have no idea the nature of the situation that led to that deviation from my vocalization.
But you also played Roger Rabbit in the three shorts, Tummy Trouble, Roller Coaster Rabbit, and Trail Mix Up. So
Correct.
was that just as fun? I mean, there probably wasn't like the live action part, but
It's more, traditional voiceover. You go into a studio and record the lines.
yeah, and from what I understand, a big reason they made those shorts was that they were sort of building public interest and sort of developing this Roger Rabbit 2, which unfortunately never really came into fruition. Were you like, were you aware doing those shorts that, there's probably some, this is leading to another Roger Rabbit down the line? Were you just focused on each project? Did you ever hear about that?
I always assumed there'd be a sequel because it made over $200 million, but for whatever reason, it didn't manifest.
Yeah, what I mean, thankfully, I mean the characters like live on like at Disneyland, I say. And even like Benny the Cat, he got to be on the DVD menu. He appeared on an episode of House of Mouse. Like, do you record like Benny the Cab as much as Roger Rabbit?
Hmm. Geez, let me think. As
I
much. Let's see. Benny the Cab, Benny the Cab, Benny the Cab. Roger Rabbit, Roger Rabbit. No would be the answer. No, Rogers definitely takes precedent over Benny.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it is his movie, but
He is
so
the titular character.
yeah, but yeah, I did sort of want to go back to Disneyland. They're celebrating their 70th. On their 35th anniversary, they had a special that was hosted by Tony Danza where he goes on the Jungle Cruise, and you were the skipper. Do you have any?
By the way, we run this ship according to strict naval tradition, which means the captain goes down with his ship. So at this point, I'd like to introduce your new captain. Excuse me, sir, what'd you say your name was?
Exciting memories about that where you're
Sure, John Landis directed it. I was not only the skipper, but I played a balloon vendor.
You don't like balloons? I got a mouse balloons right here.
I played about 3 different characters in that show.
What's the matter? Rat got your tongue?
yeah, it's like Disney really did seem to know, you had your talents. You had that sort of Peter Sellers, sort of Jonathan Winters kind of like ability to like transform to all these characters.
Well, that is a compliment that I definitely have great resonance with. Jonathan Winters is one of the great inspirations for me. And Peter Sellers is one of the great actors of all time.
Oh yeah.
Birdie Num Num.
I always like, enjoy seeing it. And like we mentioned, like Back to the Future Part 2, which you were in, but you were also in the Polar Express. Because you have a recurring relationship with Robert Zemeckis. So even though you didn't get that part in Romancing the Stone, he clearly saw, like your
Yeah.
comedic gifts.
It did something in Death Becomes Her, just like a voice off camera, like a pizza delivery or something. And I don't know if they still have it, but at Disneyland on Space Mountain, I did a whole video thing where I was Crazy Larry, selling used rocket ships.
It's Crazy Larry here for Crazy Larry's used spaceship and satellites. Hey, are you in the market for a used spaceship? I've got them all. I've got rockets, saucers, thrusters, and boosters. I've got photon drives, neutrino drives, all right here under one roof. We've got Explorers, Scouts, Vanguards, Redstones, Saturns, Titans, imports, exports, alien ships, all with low mileage and ready to blast off the lot.
Oh, cool. I wonder, that might have been at the Disney World version.
Well, it was at Disneyland. It
Okay.
could have been both places, but I know it was at Disneyland.
Yeah, I know like that ride, and Disneyland's always, sort of changing stuff, but yeah, I'm sure you were definitely in it at one point. But what was
Drinking Richard's sparkling water, which is water, comes from rain. Rainwater made carbonated. It's Richard's sparkling water.
a great plug for sparkling water?
It really is for Richard's sparkling water. No salt added from rain. Rain clouds. Richard, send me a case, bro. Yeah. There we
DownTown, ToonTown's very first sponsor, sprinkling water.
Well, I don't know if it's ToonTown's first, but it certainly won't be the last attempt to procure some kind of remarkable marketing item.
Do you at all keep in touch with Bob Zemeckis at all?
Oh, sure. Every time he puts out a movie, I call him up and talk about it. Here, I loved Here. I don't know if you saw it, but
I was actually at the world premiere, so I got to. That was exciting. I liked the movie a lot. I think
I
it got a
loved it. I mean, the end of it. Did you cry at the end?
it was emotional. I really
The audience wept. I mean, I think Zemeckis is he's a genius, and he's just a very human, dignified, magical man. You know,
and I
great
think
filmmaker.
yeah, I mean he has talked about, again, if it was up to him, he would have made that Roger Rabbit too. In fact, he even says there's a script at Disney which for some reason or another Disney is just not further developing. I mean,
Well,
have you
Bob says it's because of Jessica that Disney wouldn't do something with Jessica being as provocative as she is.
yeah.
The current Disney would never make Roger Rabbit today.
Yeah.
So they can't make a movie with Jessica in it.
But I am glad, like, you still, you played the character whenever you're off. Like, most recently, I think, was the Chip and Dale movie where Roger Rabbit, he makes a brief cameo, but you were there. So, like,
Right.
you will always accept a call to reprise Roger. Am I wrong
I
about
love
that?
Roger. He's a part of my soul. And
Yeah.
Chippendale, that was named after, I believe, the furniture maker. A guy named Chippendale who made furniture.
Learning all sorts of kinds of tidbits.
Man, if you can't learn, you can't earn. If you can't
Yeah.
learn and you can't whistle, if you find the way to go, it's open to the later. It's not a matter of this or that, but where? Ooh, but Barcelonian pie. I don't believe it. What? Not yet. It's just the final point. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. Do you remember when you got to do the episode of Prop Culture, which I think has been taken down from Disney Plus, but I loved the Roger Rabbit episode where they traveled to like track down different props and the guy visited you to
Of course, I
bring.
remember. Dan, I believe was his name.
Yeah.
Yeah. A rotund fellow of eclectic tastes.
I think he brought like the actual like plaster that was like used, for like the model.
It wasn't plaster, it was rubberized. It was used as a an object that you could use for sightlines for for Bob Hoskins to look at it and see, well, Roger's right here. So they put that little rubberized Roger on the ground and you could get his eye line right so that it would match.
Yeah, I really hope they put it back because, again, there's just so much information that shared. But yeah, I mean, you do all these incredible voices, but I actually brought a Roger, so I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm sure my listeners, I
I
can't.
could never do Roger now. You don't understand. I got too much at stake. He's a rabbit, and I'm a human being. Please. There,
Um,
I've done it. You've made me a whore. But I don't mind being a whore, not a rabbit whore, not a ToonTown whore. Something I abhor more than I adore. Oh, the cantifloss and flanted land. There is no thing I love more than to delight the eye can sailors of the fortunate few. That
that's
certainly is, Ollie.
that is fantastic. I mean, my day has already been made, but one thing I did,
Careful what you make, Clarice. If you make too much of your day, Clarice, you may end up having a lamb, maybe some Chianti with some beans and liver.
Yeah, one thing I did really, I feel like I need to bring up, since I am interviewing you is, well, we did encounter each other. I actually have your book, Out of My Mind, which is by you. Among your many uh titles is author. So if you would like to talk about like this book and, it's sort of
Did
an
you have you read it?
yeah, it's a very easy read. It's like 10 stories. It kind of some of them reminded me a little bit of like Twilight Zone a little bit. So,
Right on. Yeah, twisty endings. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. That really means a lot to me. I put a lot of time in that. Now, the picture on the back of me, can you read who did the photo? There's a credit right underneath it.
cover design Joel Hasemeyer and author photo Tanya Chambers.
Now, I don't know if you recall this or not, but in one of the stories, I believe it's The Visit, Tanya Chambers is the name of the female character who is a photographer.
Oh yeah.
So that was a little crossover, like a little bit of private bunny hopper um, that some people may or may not discover. Yeah, actually, I took the picture myself, so I gave her credit for it because she's a character from the book. So it's like, what? How can I character from the book? You mean that was all real? Did you have a favorite story of the
Um
or one that you recall?
I mean I don't know. I really liked the first one. That one I really
Sylvia?
yeah.
That's a bit surreal.
Yeah, I'm very a big fan of the surreal, so
Well, surreal, and a lot of it is very sci-fi.
yeah, exactly. Because that's why I compared it to like Twilight Zone. Like you have like multiple different stories. I like that sort of anthology sort of structure. So like, how long did it take you to write the book?
Oh, well, I spent over 20 years when I very first started and then kind of put it on the shelf and then came back to it. So,
And so like, have you always been interested in writing? You mentioned, like you also like you're sort of a bit of a, I guess that phrase is like you do a bunch of everything. So, like, has writing just always been like something you aspired to be as well?
well, I love reading. So if one loves reading, then one is often led down the path to writing because I've always tried to move towards things that have touched my soul. I saw Salvador Dali and certain painters and it made me want to paint. And then reading things like Haruki Murakami and various authors and how that affected me and touched my soul. I want to do that. I want to like jump into that pool and see if I can affect someone in the same way that Gabriel Garcia Marquez affected me with 100 Years of Solitude or any of the great books that I've read.
Yeah, the phrase I was looking for was Renaissance man. You are pretty much a Renaissance man.
Well,
Like,
thank you, darling. I certainly have considered myself like it confuses people quite often, which are you, a scientist or an artist or a mathematician or a comedian, an actor? You must just pick one. And I've had people tell me that, and I say, wait a minute, I have to limit my passions because you have a tiny brain, motherfucker? No, I love what I do. I love music. And when I heard Jimi Hendrix play, I said, wow, I gotta learn. I mean, I'll never be able to play like that, but I want to be able to try.
what instruments do you play?
Play the harmonica, the guitar, and the piano. On Spotify, is it Spotify? I have a bunch of songs that I've written and performed on Spotify.
That's really cool. I gotta try to seek that out.
And one of them, Tumbled, I sing on all of them, but on Tumble I played lead guitar and keyboards.
Okay, so like some of the Spotify songs, I mean, yeah, so you play all the instruments like like do you ever use any digital tracks or anything like that?
Digital tracks. I mean, pre-recorded digital tracks, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
things like that. Just
No, it's always been, you go into a studio and you lay down the song is written, and then you put down the drum track, and then add the instruments, and then add the vocals, and then mix it, and then you post it.
yeah, well, I'm excited. I gotta check out some of these songs, that I just I'm really fascinated by people who could like do all sorts of kinds of things. But we
Well,
mentioned,
it's a passion. I have a extraordinary passion for creation and the ability to grab something out of apparently nothingness and make it into something that wasn't there before, but it's there now. I just love that whole concept.
yeah, you are a true artist.
Well, thank you, brother. And you're a true hat wearer.
I'll take it. I mean, but yeah, we mentioned that, I mean, Pasadena Comic Con, which is going to be coming up as of this recording in 3 days, and you also have like some other conventions sort of down the line. How do you feel about like meeting like fans who are like excited to like meet you or like get a selfie or get an autograph? Like, is there
Oh,
any
it's
enjoyment out of you that
it's
you
an honor. It truly is an honor. It's like you do stuff, and when you do stand up, you're immediately aware of the reaction. But in film, you don't know. But then when people come up to you and say, wow, you changed this or you did that, my childhood, or Roger was, it's very meaningful to me. I don't take it lightly. I'm very appreciative for that. And that I was able to participate in something that is a classic and that will live on. And even the little bits that I've had, like in Nightmare on Elm Street or
Zodiac. You were in Zodiac.
Zodiac. Yeah, I love that. That's, David Fincher.
Yeah, a lot of people consider that like a modern classic.
David Fincher is another genius filmmaker, and I've been blessed enough to work with, Bob Zemeckis, Wes Craven, David Fincher, some masters.
Yeah, and you do a lot of, I guess, signing at these conventions. So I really have to ask, like, when you like sign stuff, where did you like get the idea to do like your sort of self-portrait as part of like an autograph?
Oh, so you must have bought that at Barnes and Noble, the signed edition. Is that correct?
I believe I got this at the Time Bomb, I think it was called. It was
Oh,
the shop in Burbank, which is
called Blast from the Past.
okay. All right. Right. Yeah, I had some signed for them as well. And
yeah.
I still there's some signed copies at Barnes and Noble. Yeah, I did that. No, that's been my kind of logo. It's on the back of the book too. The little logo, kind of my profile with my signature coming out of my mouth.
Yeah. So do you have aspirations for like drawing like behind the scenes as well as, the performing?
I do art more than anything because unlike film, whereby someone has to hire you and a production has to be established, I can sit in my room and draw. Have you ever seen my website, charles-fleischer.com? It's charles-fleischer.com. It's
Right.
just a dash between the first and last name. And I have it's a store for my artwork, which includes ink drawings, watercolor, computer generated stuff, some AI stuff. I love AI. There's a whole bunch of people that are opposed to it, but it's the image that I get afterwards that I never saw before. That I do art to create an image I've never seen, whether I do it by drawing it, painting it, creating vector models and texture mapping them, or using a group of words to create an image. I don't care how I get it as long as I don't hurt anybody. And the final product is something that creates a feeling in me that is one of wonder.
That's fantastic. I mean, we always like, want to see more, and I'm looking forward to like, tracking down some of like the stuff. Is there anything like, since I think, we may be wrapping up, is there anything you want to give a plug and like shout out and sort of like promote, especially as
I
you
would
have
like to promote your webcast.
Downtown Toontown?
Yeah, downtown ToonTown. This guy here with the little hat on, he's a little quirky, but he does his homework. He firmly believes in everything he says, everything he does. You'll always get sincerity from him, and you'll always be able to trust what he says. So, forget about me, bro. I'm plugging you now. Because
Well,
like they say, happy wife, happy life. If I plug you, bro, I know I'm gonna be sailing on the sea. Woo! Lord have mercy. No, I got nothing to plug. Just plug love and plug the bubbalo.
well, that's a message we definitely need today more than ever. So, Charles, thank you so much. Thank you for all your work. I hope they make a Roger Rabbit too, so that we can, continue the character. And
Don't hold your breath. There's a better chance of somebody making one of my stories into a show of some kind
and
than
you know what? That would be interesting too, because I am a bit of a film buff, and we're always looking. I'm looking for originality, and enough of like remakes and more.
yeah.
You
I
know,
got, Maristica, the story of Maristica about the fingerprint amusement parks. That'd be a kick-ass movie. Some of those things would be good little TV shows, but enough about plugging me. But I'm really, in addition to everything you've done and said, the fact that you bought and read my book, that's really important to me because that's just nobody really reads anymore.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I really try to, I want to support, artists. Some people they want to like chase fame, and sometimes they overlook like the work that they put into their passion.
well, I
And
appreciate that. And if someone wanted to pick my book up and they weren't at the Barnes and Nobles in Studio City,
that is
out of my
out of
mind,
my mind.
it's on Amazon. And the illustration on the very front of it is from the story Maristica, where a scientist figures out a way to put miniaturized amusement parks within the configuration of people's fingerprints.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're like a sci-fi geek or you just love like technical stuff, and history, it's all there. So as well, and love. So
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that.
okay, and thank you. I appreciate it, you being here, because as they say, there's nothing more valuable than time. And thank you for giving me your
And
time.
if you come by on Saturday down to Pasadena, you got a free autograph picture on my tab, bro.
Oh, well, I'll try to work up the nerve and remind you of that while I'm there. So
No nerve. If I see that hat, I'll know it's you. There'll be
Oh.
1,000 people wearing Back to the Future hats, and I'll have to give them all a damn free autograph. Yeah, that's not be so damn generous.
yes,
All
well,
right, my friend. Thank you very much.
Charles Fleischer, ladies and gentlemen.
Peace out, amigo Lodos.
Peace.
Retro rock is fire, burn a hole in space. Overwhelmed by gravity, I still see her face. Open up my parachute, pierce the atmosphere. Earth is so beautiful, but I wish that you were here.
And that right there was some of the music created by Charles Fleischer himself,
which you can find on Spotify.
You can also go to his website, charles-fleischer.com. That's where you can get his book, Out of My Mind, and various other things. Charles Fleischer is coming to Nickel City Comic Con in Buffalo, New York, June 27th to June 29th, and in Ancient City Comic Con in St. Augustine, Florida on September 12th. So if you live close to those cities and you want to meet Roger Rabbit, here's your chance. Please give him a follow. He's on Instagram. So what a great show. If you'd like to follow me and get more updates on the show or whatever I'm doing, I have my Downtown ToonTown page on Instagram, X. I also have my YouTube channel,
JJ Smith Media.
if you'd like to follow and see some videos, mostly of either Disneyland stuff and also California stuff and general things that I'm doing. And if you want to follow my personal page on Instagram, you can, JJ Smith Entertainment. That's just posting pictures of me and various other places, and sometimes I upload stuff on the story. And that should wrap up the show. I'll try to get another one out before 2026. That's the best I can promise given the circumstances. But until next time, thank you for listening, and I will see you downtown.
ToonTown is an unofficial podcast. It is in no way affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. The opinions expressed on this podcast are mine and mine alone and do not reflect any official member of the Walt Disney Company or the Walt Disney Company itself.